I've been here at Born Free for 25 years, and I started off as an intern in 2000. This was a job. I started as a job. It's now a passion. Even when you go home, you still think about them. You know them individually. You know their needs. You know how they react to you. I wish one morning I could just wake up and open the gate and let Tsar and Jamil and all the other kids that we care for here in our sanctuary. But we can't. Our kids have lost their fear for people. They associate people with food, and they might look fit and healthy and strong, but they don't have the knowledge or the skill to behave or to source or to get food for themselves like a proper wild lion or a leopard. So for those reasons, we cannot release them into the wild. Our project does not focus on captive breeding because we don't want to perpetuate the problem with more cats born into a cap environment. So for our cats, this place is strictly a retirement home to give them a better quality of life for a few years, and at the same time hoping that they are ambassadors for cats out there to remain in the wild for future generations to see them in the natural environment. If I can do better and make their lives more relaxed, enjoyable whilst they're here, that's a thumbs up. As a young man, I grew up on a farm. Mainly we were working with livestock like cows and sheep and goats. So I have been introduced to wildlife, but in my case it was I must protect the livestock from the wildlife. So it was a first for me to work with big cats. I fear them at first, and I was taught as a young man that they need to be kept away from the livestock and we can never coexist. And over the years I have learned that we can coexist, and they need to be protected as much as any other animal. So I've grown as a human. I've grown to love what was a fear, or that I was taught to keep away from livestock. So it was a big change. The lions that actually started the story for us here at Shamwari Private Game Reserve, they changed me for who I am today. Rafi and Anthea are two lions that were rescued from Tenerife way back in 1996, 1997 by the Born Free Foundation. They were kept in a tiny cage on top of a roof where the owner used them as a tourist attraction. And for many years, Born Free campaigned for this gentleman to release them and let them go. And finally that happened. They stayed for a couple of years in Kent in a temporary home, and then they came down to Shamwari in 1997, 1998, and they had a good life with us. They had a good 12, 13 years with us till they passed on. And yeah, they are the lions that opened doors for Shamwari to release wild lions back into the natural environment. For each and every guest, for each and every school child that comes and visit our center, it's a learning experience. And we hope that the stories they hear from us, that we tell about the cats, where they've come from, where they've been treated, those stories will be told to other people and encourage people not to visit all these places where animals are exploited, where they are used for entertainment. That should be something of the past. It should not be happening at this day and age. It's a job that I enjoy, and speaking for those that can't speak for themselves. That's why I wake up every day with a smile on my face and I say, today we're going to do better. If I can change one child, one guest, or one South African's mindset towards keeping wildlife in captivity, or visiting a mismanaged zoo, or actually going to a circus, if I can change one, that's a win for us. I think in the long run, it's something that we're going to win. With all the education that we're putting in, all our efforts are not going unnoticed. So in the long run, I'm seeing a brighter future for wildlife in the natural environments. I was told, Virginia McKenna's arriving, the actress, and I was like, really? Okay. And I remember for the very first time, I shook her hand. But obviously we shook hands, but it was more, it ended up being a hug. And I'll never forget that day. When I saw the film for the very, very first time, it was 1991. 1991, I was like 11, 12 years old, just before my father's passing. He actually introduced the film to me. It was a very favorite of his, you know. And never knew I was going to meet her. And in 2000, late 2000, it was in December, she came for a visit to Shamwari. She has done so much for conservation, compassionate conservation. She has done so much. And yeah, she's the biggest wildlife hero that we need to celebrate every day. I feel I'm very indebted to Born Free, and hearing the amazing stories from the other projects that our colleagues do in Kenya, Ethiopia. It's just amazing work. Wherever you go, wherever you hear people talk about the projects that Born Free do in different places, at the end, it's all of us that are doing it. Virginia, Will, us that's on the ground doing the work, the amazing team in the office that doesn't get the credit. So yes, there are ups and there are downs, but at the end, we're doing it for something good and for something greater.